Did the billionaires of this world know before America attacked Iran? Warren Buffett has been sitting on cash, 378 billion US dollars.
The big boys, they don't watch the Instagram feed to make investment decisions. 80% of the oil is stuck. 20% of the gas is stuck. Fertilizer, urea, is a byproduct of oil refining. It's not reaching the farmers. There'll be a food crisis very soon. AI age equipments, they require helium to cool them down, but there's no helium, so the prices are going up. There's a huge energy crisis. It's a fuel pandemic that's happening across the world. This is going to impact your life on a daily basis. Take a note of the last 7 countries US has invaded. Most countries who don't have central bank.
What does controlling a reserve bank mean for a country? What am I able to do? We always hear that America prints out its own money. If you control your reserve bank, what power does that give you?
What if I have the power to indebt you for life?
Today we bring you a disrupted broadcast where we're discussing what is going on in our world today. We've heard many people talk about World War III, and today we've brought you a man who's going to help you understand and demystify. He is a well sought after advisor to wealthy families, billionaires, millionaires all around the world. And today we've brought him here to ask the difficult questions. He understands the 2026 marketplace and global landscape. He's giving us the numbers, how to beat hope every single time, how we should be navigating this market with precision.
When countries are buying silver, they are securing their future against oil with green energy. So that's why silver and gold are not same. The reality that you live is probably just a narrative. This is what happened with Saudi Arabia. When they had the oil, US stepped in and said, hey, we'll give you the infrastructure, we'll give you the refineries, you can make so much money with this oil, and we'll also protect you from your neighbors, we'll give you the army, the military, the safety. All you have to do is sell your oil only in dollars.
Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm going to start off by understanding, how did we get here? Because someone might ask themselves to say, the world was running smoothly, everything was perfect, people were starting new year, new me, people had their New Year's resolutions, and boom, we start hearing, are we in World War III? America's done something, someone's done something somewhere. For the person who has been under a rock, what has happened?
I think a lot has happened since 28th of February. A lot has changed. Your life, my life, everybody's life has changed. And that impact is huge. But before we get into that, one disclaimer. Whatever we share today is just going to be me telling you what I know from the news. And nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody can look inside and say the future. So this is not going to be about the future so much. We can't predict anything. But yes, based on the information what we have, what are our projections as analysts and as people who actually closely watch the market for our wealthy investors? And second thing, I think that was the best intro I've received in the longest time. So I got to send it to my mom. So what has happened is, since 28th of February, since US made a move on Iran, everyone's world has come upside down. Things have really changed for everybody. Some of them realize it, some of them don't realize it yet. There's a huge energy crisis. I don't think somebody's coined this term yet, but I would like to coin it. And there's a fuel crisis. I would call it a fandemic. It's a fuel pandemic that's happening across the world. Energy crisis. Everyone's focused on Dubai. I always say that, everybody wants to talk about the top performer in the company, criticize him. When you're at the top, people love talking about you. That's the gossip. But besides Dubai, besides UAE, there's so much happening around us, from the Asian continent to the European continent to America. And that's where the news is keeping you distracted, and they keep buzzing your feed with sensational news about Dubai and UAE, but you're missing out on the bigger picture, that this is going to impact your life on a daily basis at a molecular level.
I mean, I was quite concerned when I saw that India is now rationing fuel, and I heard that in India people are being suggested, or rather being told, to work from home because fuel is becoming scarce. And not only India, I then saw, articles showing that different countries are now saying less fuel is available and people should work from home. But before we jump into that, I want to go back. Did the billionaires of this world know before America attacked Iran. Did they know that this was coming? Did they understand this was coming? Most especially people like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has been sitting on cash, 378 billion US dollars. And when people asked him, why aren't you investing in Nvidia? Why aren't you buying all these shares of all these undervalued stocks? He said, no, I'm waiting for the right opportunity. Is this what billionaires were waiting for?
Absolutely. One thing I want to make it clear right off the bat. The big boys, they don't watch the Instagram feed to make their investment decisions because, anything that comes to Instagram has already happened. They have consultants. They have consultants in the big four. They have consultants in the biggest banks, JP Morgan Chase, experience for 20, 25 years managing their money. And they see it coming at the horizon, even before it comes up. So they were being warned. Of course they were. And that's why you see a lot of cash rich people are sweeping away the best of the deals in Dubai because they were ready for this. And anyways, there was, Fitch rating kept on saying for the past 3 years, there will be a correction. So Fitch rating, here's your correction. It didn't happen as per your
standards, but it happened as to...
But it happened. It came true. So I think that ways, yes, you're absolutely correct. The billionaires and the big millionaires, the big boys, they were sitting with cash, they were guided well, they knew it.
For the naive person out there who believes that, we're all living in the same world, because a lot of people believe that, we all have the same chances or have the same 24 hours. They're not aware that the billionaires are paying consulting companies and even own those consulting companies to get, I would call it insider information, because if you know an event is going to happen before it happens, you have some insight, right? How does that system work? Is it that a researcher one day wakes up in the morning and says, hey, there's an email I got. How does this whole world work? How does this underbelly of this world where they control the world work?
So I think it's just a difference between the chatter we hear. The chatter we hear on Instagram is general dialogue about recent past. But what the chatter that they hear is the chatter which is happening in the lobbies of parliament.
And I learned this from the movies where the president has a special briefing and only the top army generals are there. Is it that those people that are in power, for example, in America, people talk about Trump's pact, that these billionaires that funded him, is it that after that meeting, there's a little slip note that goes to the researcher, or they make a phone call to say, hey, buddy, listen, this thing might be happening, move your assets, or we're going to move on in this? Or is it that this agenda is pre-planned maybe even 5 years before?
See, if you want to get into conspiracy theories, then the agenda was planned many years ago. Let's not get that side. But yes, let's get a little controversial, and definitely there will be slip-ups. But because you can easily see, there are so many viral videos and articles talking about oil transactions happened 5 minutes after Trump announced that he's not going to attack Iran for 5 days. There was huge transaction happens in the Bitcoin world where, somebody bought Bitcoin positions and he made upwards of millions within hours because
of the
Trump
presidential
made the announcement. So, of course, I, as a layman, I'm only guessing this happens, but there's also evidence to it. And, they have connections.
Who's the top man? Is it the president? Is Trump in charge? Or is it the Rothschilds or these families that sit right at the top? Where does this flow from?
I think that's the conspiracy theories, and I've been following them for many years, but I just keep it to myself. Don't talk about it much publicly. I think I don't want people to think I'm cuckoo in my head because half the people don't understand. But yes, if you want to talk about agenda, then I would want you to take a note of the last 7 countries that US has invaded. And you would see a clear pattern. They always find a reason, and they were most countries who don't have central banks.
Let me think about this, because if you say the last 7, I would say we're talking about Iraq, we're talking about Muammar Gaddafi as well in Africa. We're talking about Iran now. We're talking about, I would say that all these countries have oil.
Besides oil, let's look at the other 3 countries which are pending now on the agenda. Cuba.
Oh, wait, Venezuela. I forgot Venezuela.
Yes, Venezuela was one of the most recent. And then after that, I think 2 countries are remaining, Cuba and North Korea, besides Iran. You see the pattern?
I see the pattern. I mean, Cuba's now in blackout, right? And they're all about communism, I think. Explain that. Why? Let's start here. You said they don't have central banks. I was not aware of this. What do you mean?
Yeah, so besides the power, besides the energy, because energy is the top currency of the world, humans require it for survival, for heating our homes, cooling our cars. But at the same time, currency is more important. So that's where, I said it's the conspiracy theory, and I don't want it to get very controversial. But that's when, as you mentioned, Rothschild family, that's the angle that you should start looking at, that who is ensuring that US goes into these countries. People who control the money, the banks.
When you say energy, I mean, I'm sort of saying, well, it's not only oil that we get energy from. There's solar energy, there's coal. So is oil maybe the top leading energy source of the world?
Absolutely, because it's one of the most efficient. Easy to
see.
carry, easy to move. Think about coal.
So you're saying the first target is firstly currency and then energy.
Yeah, because with money you control the world. And
But why would the US go after these countries where the currency was not strong in the first place? I mean, Iran. What I mean is that there's other countries that do have stronger currencies.
So it's not about the currency not being strong. It's about having a central bank. So let's say, for example, India. And this could be controversial, but who runs the Reserve Bank of India?
Same with South Africa. It's not South Africans.
It's not the
It's
government.
wealthy families, yes.
The governor of the Reserve Bank of India, does he report to the Prime Minister?
No, he reports
What
to
about South
shareholders.
Africa?
Same thing. They report to shareholders. And these shareholders are not South African.
Are you a shareholder of your central
No,
bank?
I'm not.
Do you know anything that happens inside that building?
No. Let's start here. Let me ask you this. Which countries do control their reserve bank?
I think right now, let's put it this way, they control their currency because they don't have a central bank.
Who's they? Oh, you mean countries that can control their currency?
Right now, I think it's only Cuba and North Korea. I'll have to do a recheck on that.
Okay, let's backtrack here. So you're saying countries that don't have reserve banks that are controlled by external people. Muammar Gaddafi did not allow them to control his reserve bank. Iran is this the same thing with Iran?
Same thing.
Hold on, you're saying all these countries that they've been attacking, they control their own reserve bank.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
Well,
there's
you're
a
saying
pattern.
people should Google it.
I'm saying people should Google about it. Just Google last 10 countries or last 7 countries and which are the countries which are heavily sanctioned by US. You'll see a pattern.
And you believe the attack, the sanctions is all because these guys have learned to control their reserve bank. Let's go into this. What does controlling a reserve bank mean for a country? What am I able to do? Because we always hear that America prints out its own money, and Elon Musk has been on this brigade of saying America needs to stop printing money because we're all going to collapse, right? If you control your reserve bank, what power does that give you?
Let's look at it like that. What if I have the power to indebt you for life? Imagine I'm your reserve bank and you're the country. I print $1 today. I give it to you. And I say, hey, you know what? Run your country with this money because countries borrow money from the reserves, right?
Yes.
And I say after 1 year, you got to give me $1.10 back. And then I stop printing money. How will you ever return my debt?
Hold on. You've lost me there. You've given me the $1. I've spent it. I've built a little road. I've built a little school. Then you say, I need to pay you back. I've built the school and people are going to school and they're now indebted to me as a country. And I need to collect money from these people because they're participating economically. But you're saying, how do I pay you back if what?
Next year, how would you pay me?
Wouldn't I charge debt on my school and charge my clinic and charge people to be able to raise money as a country to pay you back?
But your entire country has just $1. That's what is running everything. Let's just scale it up into $1 trillion.
But, okay, I get it.
So now what you do foreign trade.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
You start by to sustain your country. You have to buy oil. You have to do exports, imports. So you start getting money from outside. That you're a business. You're not a country.
Yes.
You're trying to make money to pay my debt, and you'll never be able to because next time when you run out, most of the countries are in deficit.
Yes, yeah,
What
of
are,
course. Every
what,
country owes a lot of money to
to
these
who?
reserve
What are they in deficit of?
to these reserve banks that gave them the
And
money,
who
these
owns the
loans.
Reserve Bank?
These people that own the IMF and run the World Economic Forum.
Yes, that's where the conspiracy
I
starts.
mean, conspiracy theories, and I think people have started to call them the deep state. And I used to be one person that didn't believe there was a deep state. I thought, this is crazy. Like, life works linear. We're all the same. We're all drinking the same tea, the same water. Until I got to understand the deep state does exist. And America does have files on a deep state of men and women that have this deep fetish of controlling the lives of people. And I got to understand that the deep state does plan on doing certain things, and they are in control, and they have their own fund, and they have their own resources. But maybe I want to bring it here to say, so the Reserve Bank, before we move on to the deep state, I still want to get this point across. If I control my own Reserve Bank, that means I can't get a loan from the deep state or these people. So I can print my own money and then print more money to pay back my own debt. Is that what you're saying? If I own my own Reserve Bank, how does it help me if they're not? So you said to me that I borrow 100 million from you, and this 100 million I build a school as a country, and now my people need to go and work online and do all these things to make money with foreign trade, etc., so that I can make money and pay you back with interest, right? But you're saying if I own my own Reserve Bank, what's the scenario then?
Then you have your own money and you're not indebted to the deep state.
I'm indebted to myself.
Yeah, you have your own resources. You cut the tree, make a table out of it, you pluck the fruit, you eat it, and you're not
Whereas
answerable.
now when I pluck the tree, I have to use your money that I'm indebted to buy the tree, pluck the tree, and then pay you back that money, whereas you haven't done anything to make that money.
Let's take it a step back and zoom out.
Okay.
If I'm a village and I have 100 people in the village, we eat what grows around our village, right?
Yes.
And we find some crops which are working for us and we grow that and we eat it. Do you need anything from the neighboring village?
No.
But the neighboring village wants a stake in you, wants to control you. Does that make sense to you?
It does, but now explain it from the terms
Now-
of the Reserve Bank. How do
now
they control us?
Now, if we go deeper into this, the village next door starts strategizing. They get your people more exposed to desires, wants, more and more. They encourage you to talk about industrialization. They say, hey, look at our village, we've done so well. And then slowly, the normal life that you were living, literally foraging, you come to a point that you want more and more infrastructure. They come and say, hey, you want that shiny new building? We can build it for you. Do you want some money for that? We'll help you out. And slowly, this is an economic invasion of your village. So your self-sustaining village is now become dependent.
Because I need to raise or I need to get money to pay back for this shiny building.
And then you say, hey, I've got the money for this building. Here's the money, build it. But that's not enough. I don't want to be your contractor. I want more stake in your economy. So then I start telling all the villagers that you're a bad person. You, the leader of the village, you're
Hold
very
on. I
bad.
think you're going too fast here. You've just said that now you, the head of the village, who's conspired to build me a shiny building, I say, yes, give me the money. Then you bring your companies to build the building. And then you want a stake of my village as sort of a guarantee for giving me the loan. Okay. Then I'll say to you, I'll give you a portion of my oil. I've got oil on the ground. I'll give you this hectare of oil. Okay, cool. Let's continue.
So now, this is where you're going the Saudi way.
Okay.
This is what happened with Saudi Arabia. When they had the oil, US stepped in and said, hey, we'll give you the infrastructure. We'll give you the refineries. You can make so much money with this oil, and we'll also protect you from your neighbors. We'll give you the army, the military, the safety. All you have to do is sell your oil only in dollars.
So
That's
the trick is
Yeah.
I want you to sell what you have in your village, but you're selling it with my currency that other countries need to find my currency.
This is
to buy
slightly
what you
different.
have.
This is slightly different from the central bank concept. We'll go back to that.
Yeah, we'll
But
go
then
back to it,
This
yeah.
is what happened in Saudi, and a couple of years back, it was a 70-year contract, and it ended. So Saudi did not continue with the petrodollar, and that actually has US really concerned, because now Saudi is able to sell their oil in Indian rupee, Chinese yuan, anything, and that's not healthy for US.
But I need us to go back, and I mean, as you're speaking, my brain is jumping everywhere because I'm seeing the connection.
Okay, let me give you a disclaimer. Let me give you a disclaimer and make sure you put it online.
Yeah.
The salesman facade that you see, that's just the salesman that you see in me is just a facade. I'm an introvert. I read a lot, and sometimes I read funny stuff. Okay.
Yeah. No. Don't worry about that. But I want to get back to this, right? So I'm the country. You've given me money for infrastructure. I've built the schools, I've built the roads, I've built everything. And now you've said to me, let's use the oil example. I've also made these refineries that I owe you money. And you've said to me, whatever I sell, I must sell using your currency, right?
So this is the example number 2.
Yeah, the example. But I want to now find out when another country, like for example, China wants oil from me. China needs to buy that oil using my dollar. How does China get the dollar?
Foreign trade. That's why, when you look at the countries, a country's performance will always talk about their gold reserves, their GDP, their inflation, and their forex reserves in dollars. How much dollars they have means how much buying power they have for trading.
And for them to get those dollars, they need to supply America with something.
Yes.
They need to sell something to America.
Yes.
And when America buys that thing, they printed those dollars.
Yes.
But when China's making that thing, it couldn't have printed those dollars because the dollars aren't theirs in the first place.
Yes, of course.
So then one would say the only way to get out of this contract is how does my village get out of the contract? I'm now tired of paying you.
So I think the village example only held up till the Saudi infrastructure part.
Yeah.
But when we go to the central bank, if I don't get a lot of stake, like dealing oil, one of the largest reserves of oil in the world being dealt with dollar was sufficient for US. But for smaller places, like what happened to poor General Gaddafi, in that case, what they do is they start feeding your village people that you as a leader are not good.
Okay.
They control the social media.
I don't want us to go into Gaddafi without explaining the pre-context. So with Gaddafi, what actually happened?
So now we are going to the Reserve Bank concept.
To the Reserve Bank. Okay.
Central bank.
So we're done with the oil concept.
Yeah.
We're done with the concept of me giving you a loan to build infrastructure and to sell the product you've got in my currency.
Yes.
Let's say, I want to finish that before we move to Muammar Gaddafi. Let's say in the case of Saudi, I've now paid back my loans. Once I've paid back my loans, I am now able, after that 70 years, to sell my oil in any way, shape, form that I wish without having to honor the contract of selling it using the dollars. Okay. Let's now go to the central bank concept, which is Muammar Gaddafi. Explain.
So I think the currency eventually in the future is going to be central. Everything's going to be something digital.
The CBDCs that we hear, central bank
so
digital currency.
That's the future. That's what they discussed at the recent Davos also. At the Davos summit, there was all talk about tokenization. And
but before you go this, because you're jumping into so many let's finish
I'll
Gaddafi first.
I'll trace back from that.
Okay.
So it's a very long-term goal to have every country only deal with central banks. These central banks report to one, let's say, deep state. This is all conspiracy, but let's say. Then how can you release a centralized digital currency where you have no money? Literally right now, how many dirhams do you carry in your pocket? Nothing.
Yeah.
So they're taking you away from that concept because that paper is losing value very fast. So they get you on the central currency, but you cannot get the whole world on a central currency when somebody else is doing something else. So everybody has to speak the same language, use the same token. That's what they're trying to achieve. That level of power is God level.
It is, yeah. But maybe before we get to that, trying to achieve that, let's go back to Muammar Gaddafi. So we've already understood, and for our viewers, this is, as he's saying, all theoretical, so do not quote us on it. But you're a village, you're very happy, your people are very happy. You get a loan. The loan comes from the deep state, we'll call it that. And this deep state then says to you, you must pay back the loan. We can make an agreement with you. We'll give you some resources like building you a refinery, but for 70 years you must pay us back for building you this refinery. And each time anyone wants to buy the oil that you've got, let them buy using our currency. So every other country must run around looking for the US dollar to be able to buy the oil. And that way, obviously, the US dollar is very valuable. And after you've paid us back, we've ended the story there. Saudi Arabia's story is done. Now we're going back to understanding what happens to a central bank and how do central banks work. And for us to understand this, we're going to go into Libya, Muammar Gaddafi. Let's explain it.
All right. So what happens is it's not a straightforward takeover. It's a strategic move that takes a lot of years.
Before you talk about the takeover, Muammar Gaddafi got into Libya when it was very bad. Things were extremely terrible. And he, as a leader, found favor with the people. And then he started to say things like, we want the US out. He started to say the US is bad. And, there was an uprising. And, he had this way of making people understand that they're self-sufficient. And he got to a point, I come from South Africa. And we are aware, we have rumors that Muammar Gaddafi brought in planes to South Africa carrying gold. And, that's how wealthy we then sort of perceived him to say, oof, this is a wealthy statesman. So if we're going into Muammar Gaddafi, what then happened with the US? How did the relationship form with Muammar Gaddafi? Did he also take loans from them?
So it cannot be simplified in a conversation. It happens, as I said, strategically over years. They keep offering him some sort of a deal where they make the control. But he, as a powerful leader, will push back. And if he keeps pushing back, now what I do as the leader of your village, going back to the village example, I will start doing some sort of, fueling some revolt in your village.
And
People
I use the
standing
media
against
to do that.
you. Yeah,
Because
I
people are
control the
watching
media.
Yeah. So I use CNN to say Muammar Gaddafi only has females as his bodyguards and he's doing extramural activities with them in the night.
So you know what you're doing with CNN? International media being controlled by them. It's very easy for me to create a narrative. Now, anybody sitting in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Europe, they're watching the news day in, day out for years. And then it's all a game of perception. Now, the perception of Gaddafi in front of the world is bad. And also, the citizens of United States of America feel that Gaddafi is a bad person. So that gives you a ticket to get an approval to invade.
But let me say this. I watched a Netflix documentary on African leaders, Idi Amin, Gaddafi, and I liked Gaddafi's story, but then they said Gaddafi only hired female bodyguards. And then I thought, oh, this is odd. And then they said all these beautiful women, he chased away the male soldiers and had all these female soldiers guarding him. I watched the Netflix documentary and I never fact-checked that. But now that I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm like, but how does that make sense for a president to only have female bodyguards? That doesn't make sense. He probably had female and male.
It's a narrative.
But the narrative, I bought into it. And without them saying it, I concluded that he was raping young girls.
Correct.
Because
absolutely.
That's what we've sort of been told by the media that, oh, the moment a gentleman only has women. If I come to your company and there's only females working for you, the only thing I can think about is he's taking advantage. So maybe let's go into this. So they start planting seeds and they go in and they invade the country and they kill him.
Yeah, that's the sad part. But if you don't give control, then that's where, it ends, unfortunately. So I also feel that all of this that has happened in multiple countries, like also the 9/11 happened and then they did another invasion. All of this that happens for a reason, because even the American taxpayers are spending so much money for this invasion. There's a higher agenda, which we don't understand.
I mean, you sort of alluded to the fact that the higher agenda can be or could be hypothetically these central digital bank currencies. I want to understand that a little bit more. Are you feeling like the globalists or the deep state is trying to consolidate power? That maybe they feel that by having all these different countries that have their own central banks, and these countries so happen to have energy, could it even be that these countries were smart enough to say, oh, we do have our own energy, so we can actually have our own power? And as a way to stop them, the deep state is saying, one, dismantle them. Two, bring in central digital currencies to control them.
Absolutely, 100%. That's what it looks like. I'm not saying this is it, but this is what it looks like. Because you see, again, going back to the village example, your village is self-sustaining, but I want a piece of it. You've got energy, more energy, and I know 20 years, 30 years, 30 years down the line, if I don't take control today, 30 years down the line, when my energy finishes, I will have to come begging to your door to ask for that energy. And I don't want to do that. I will take control from you today, and I will create a narrative that you're a bad leader and your people need saving from you. That's why I am coming as a messiah to save your people from you, because you have all women guards.
But let's do this, because I don't want the viewer to say, I agreed with you. I want the viewer to say that the knowledge that you've read, I questioned you. So I'm going to play the role of somebody who's disagreeing with you. And the person would say, but hold on, what about globalization? I am born in a country, America, and I learned that everybody has already used all the oil, used all the minerals, because we industrialized quickly. And I want to become powerful. I want to become, like Bill Gates, I'm going to start something like a foundation. I'm going to start something, and I'm going to come into your country and say, hey, I'm not a business, I'm a foundation. And I'm going to come and control things and control resources and change narratives and stuff because I want to be successful. What about that narrative to say these people are saying, yes, we hear what you guys are saying, that side, but we're saying we're driven by capitalism. We want to be billionaires. And you left us no choice. We can't get a passport in your country, and you look at us, you don't like us, so we'll be sneaky and we'll attack you from a different angle. And we'll call ourselves the Helen Suzman Foundation or the Bill Gates Foundation or something. These are examples. And then we'll come and we'll influence things in your country to gain power. Would you say they're being unfair? Because they're also saying, we see capitalism working. People are starting companies and they're making money. Why can't we be part of the fun? Why can't we come and make money from your people? And, if the strategy is to come and tell a lie or two, no one will arrest us. No one will do anything to us. In fact, Forbes will list us. What would you say to those people?
See, I think the straight answer to this is, if you have right ethics, I always tell people, look at how much food you have in your plate. Don't look at the other guys. But unfortunately, world is not fair. So what happens is I start looking at your plate and I want a bite of it. I want a piece of your pie. So this will never stop. I mean, why will it stop? Greed is one of the ingrained human behavior. It's in our DNA.
You're right, yeah. So I think my problem is you've given us such a big moral dilemma to say, the US is a bully that's invading countries and changing things to serve their interests. But now you're telling us that the US is behaving like any other human being would behave. So now, do we just ignore them and continue with our lives and wait for the next war and ravish other countries and make money from destruction? Is war profitable? Is sort of what you're saying when you say greed, because greed means war, right?
War is not profitable for short-sighted people, but in the long run it is. See, another human behavior, I'll tell you. When a baby is born, I'll quickly go back to that point, but I'll give you an example. If a baby is born, the only thing that the baby can react to is if you try to poke the baby, he will just do his hand like that. Because one of the first only ground level instinct that our DNA comes with is survival. And USA is just fending off for themselves, their own survival. They are just long-sighted. You're looking at what they're doing today. Oh, they're losing $3 billion a day because of the missiles, and the THAAD system is so expensive, and Iran's drones are so cheap. That's so short-term. They are securing the future of their people 40 years down the line. When the oil will run out, they will use this oil. They will control this oil. People are too short-sighted.
And the
And
oil will be worth much more.
It's all survival instinct. They are preparing for themselves, their survival. When it gets cold and dark and people don't have energy, countries are drying out of oil, they will have warm homes. They will have the energy superiority. They're just driven by survival instincts. They want them and their generations to survive for years and years and years to come.
But you've left me, and I think this is my problem with experts like yourself that are full of wisdom. You've left me with information, but your information allows the world to continue the way it's continuing. Because let's be honest, the reason why we're seeing global tensions today is because of what you've said. To say, someone sat down and said, how do I benefit myself and my posterity? And you've just shocked me by saying that. My thinking was, and I said to somebody, I said, so I opened up an oil trade, right? I just got it into oil, and I bought oil. And while buying oil, I made some profit when it went up, right? And then I had a little bit of a smile, and I said, oh, maybe the war can just continue a little bit more so I can make more profit from my trade, right? And I'm Christian. So the Christian in me said, no, lives are being killed. I need to stop. And I closed that trade. After closing that trade, oil continued going up. And I thought, oof, I should not have closed the trade. And then I opened the trade again. And now I find myself in a moral dilemma where I said, mentally, my mind wants to think that oil will go down because people wanted to stop. But with what you've said to me, you're basically saying oil will continue going up for the foreseeable future. Why? Because human greed dictates that it doesn't matter. The war will only stop once somebody has won, not once a negotiation has happened. Because negotiation means that maybe two parties will win, or this party gets this, that party gets that. But greed dictates, from what we know, that greedy people take everything for themselves and want to feed you through a drip. Is that our future? Are we in this war for long term?
We've always been like that. Humans are like that. Let me tell you, the war will end. Even if they get a negotiated deal, they're happy. They're businessmen. They're statesmen. They are not people who are going looking for wars. They just want a deal to happen. So it's not about who's winning. And let me go back to your example of the oil trade. I spoke to you about survival instincts, right? When you started looking at the trade again after you closed it as a Christian, your survival instinct, which wants to take care of yourself, your family, your kids, your wife. I don't know if you have family right now, you have kids. But because that survival instinct which wants to secure your and your family's future, cut through your religion, your morality, your ethics. People are dying and you're making money off of it.
I guess in my defense, I was saying, I am going to use this money to do good. I did say that because I run a foundation and we give back to kids in Africa. But I guess you're right in saying,
but no,
I'm now seeing how religion enters. Yeah.
It's great that you are thinking like that. God bless you and your family. You will be rewarded with
jihad are thinking the same way.
Oh, that's not a word I want to touch. But I'll tell you, God bless you. I say God bless you and your family. If you think like that, you will get 100-fold back. I pray to God. But at the end of the day, how many people are thinking like that? This is one of the biggest money-making opportunities of the world, of our recent history.
Everybody who's wealthy has bought oil, is seeing oil go up, and maybe they're getting excited to say, whew, it's been a while. We saw these crypto bros buy Lamborghinis. We saw crypto go up. Because I think crypto was a different movement because the poor man became rich.
Yes.
And rich people, the people that control the financial system, did not buy into crypto because they don't like the fact that they can't control it. These computers, these geeks, this a layman on the street buys a Lamborghini through Bitcoin and they're like, no, dirty. We don't want those people. We only want people that have been in our boys club. So now they're saying, well, since we weren't making money through crypto and all this Ethereum, it's now our time. Hey, banker, buy oil. Hey, fill up my tanks with oil, because it's their time to make money. So wouldn't they be driven to increase the price of oil?
Of course. See, every trade that you see, it's the big boys who entered when the war was happening and everybody else was scared. Then when it started touching 120, a little mid-risk capacity sort of people also started looking at it, but still scared that it could just drop overnight if everything goes hunky-dory with Iran. But I'll tell you, if it goes beyond 120 to 150, that's when the retail investors will enter and they will start pushing it up to almost touching 200. And that's when, like always, the crash will happen. All the retail investors will lose money because the billionaire boys who made money before, they've already shorted oil and they know it's coming back down, and retail investors, as usually, will lose money.
Do you think that's what happened with Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin went up to 120.
Of course, it happens with everything. It happens with Dubai real estate. The real big boys, the real risk takers, the high risk capacity guys, they entered COVID, mid-COVID, post-COVID, 2019. But all the retail low-risk guys started coming after 2024. And they thought they're going to flip units. It wasn't a flipping market anymore.
Is this why Warren Buffett, one of the best investors in the world, was sitting on cash and says, I'm waiting?
I think Warren Buffett is one of the best investors in the world because of two reasons: research and patience.
So for him, it would make sense to say just before the war began, go in. And as soon as peace is made, close the trade.
So what happens is when he invests, and total respect to Warren Buffett, I'm a big fan. I'm nothing in front of him. Fraction of a knowledge when it comes to these things. But
is he like the be-all and end-all of the knowledge world?
Yeah, so for him, what I say is when it comes to research and entering the market and the patience part that I said, one, he has a long-term vision of things. He understands that he is in this game for a long term. He's not a trader. He doesn't enter in the morning and exit in the evening. Number two, the research that he does is so important because two things happen. One, the research helps him take a calculated risk, because all of this market nonsense is speculations, right? It's sentiments, emotions. It goes up and down. It's a roller coaster. So that research helps him take a calculated risk, which increases his capacity to take risk. Now, second thing, anybody who invests surplus, as I keep saying, big boys, they are playing with their surplus, and the retail investors, they are playing with their hard-earned money. They are thinking they're going to double their money on oil, and then suddenly oil drops and all their savings are wiped out to 50%. So that's where people like Warren Buffett make money because, one, of course, they have research, they have knowledge, and number two, their risk capacity increases because of the knowledge they have through their connections, through whatever, through books, papers, all the media. Plus, he's playing with his surplus. So, he doesn't have very high stakes on that money. He doesn't keep opening the share price and checking every afternoon like a retail investor. It's going up, down, losing his mind.
80.
Yeah.
Just remind me, where did oil pick up from? At what price? About 80? It was about 80 before
89,
the war.
80,
before the war.
82.
82 before the war. And now it's sitting on about 102.
Yeah.
100. So here's my question. Is it that the secret to making money is PwC, KPMG, Deloitte on payroll to give you information on what you should do as your next move? Is it extensive research? Because I'm asking myself the question to say, you've said something that touched me deeply. You said the retail investor will only buy oil when it's at 120. And you're right. A lot of people right now are buying oil and selling it, like myself. What did I do? I bought oil and I sold it the moment it went up. And I was like, yeah, I made some money. But you're right in saying that the rich have got Deloitte saying, ooh, we've done our research. This will last this long. This price will get to this. and they open the trade, they wait for it to play out without having to panic about, oh, this is my last bit of money, or this money is important to me. And then they close when the retail is in. They pull out their money, which essentially does cause the market to drop because you've got the big chunk of the money gone.
Yeah.
I guess the question I'm asking is, why is it that people don't do research like the rich?
Because people are lazy. So I think one of the suggestions that I can give to the people watching, don't buy stuff when it reaches Instagram. Maybe you would get to know about it 48 hours before. Just go to Reddit. A lot of people are lazy to even go to Reddit. That's where news arrives before it goes to Insta. And if you want to go further, this is a very kiddish example, but if you want to go further, then read the papers. These all big companies are publishing papers. You can track their trades, where their money is going, but nobody wants to put the effort. People just want to enter at 120 and exit at 150 with their bags full of cash, but that's not how it works. Like I said, for Warren Buffett, I was reading his book. He reads about 3 to 4 hours a day.
Which
He
is
reads.
extremely boring in this day and age, because everybody's
Yeah, but
scrolling.
the retail investor doesn't want to do that. He wants to
Yeah.
be on Instagram and just, Bitcoin, and then he wants to speak about it with his friends over beer and make a trade. That's not it. I always advise that people who are working in low risk capacity should always go for long-term visions, long-term holding investments, rather than being a trader. All these videos that you see online, I just opened my
too
laptop.
late.
Yeah, I just opened my laptop for 2 hours in the morning and I made $260,000 today. No, that guy is watching every move, every day, every minute, every hour. You have a job.
Sure. I mean, I remember there's a Bible verse that I used to love, and I think as you're speaking, I'm remembering it more and more, which says, "My people perish for a lack of knowledge," which essentially means that if you've got the right knowledge, you won't perish. Which essentially means you won't lose your money, you won't get yourself into those bad situations. And I mean, I've got this picture of, whenever I think about wealth.
Mhm.
I'm going to say it and it sounds funny, but anyway, I always think of ugly people because whenever you walk into a room and you look for the wealthiest man in the room, 100% of the time, he's ugly. He's got glasses. He's reading books. He doesn't have the latest Louis Vuitton jacket. He doesn't have the trendiest shoes. He's got an old phone. He's not on Instagram. He doesn't have the coolest earphones. If anything, his earphones are those ones with the wires on. And he's busy reading. And you're like, this person, and they say, well, that man moves the market. And I've seen now there's a young man on Instagram that goes around asking people, how did you make your money? And people are shocked on Instagram to say, everybody who's made a lot of money, they're not cool. They're not savvy, These guys are in and they're getting knowledge. Is there a humility to getting knowledge? That one has to be humble enough to say, I'm not going to know what's the latest trending song. I'm not going to know what the latest movie is, but I'll definitely know who the next president is. I'll definitely know who's going to win the election. To such a point that when Trump got into power, there must have been people that already knew by then that this is what's going to happen for the next 5 years. If you're going to be a billionaire, do this, do that, do this.
Yes, of course. 100%. You're accurate. This is
Are
what
you
happens.
that person?
No, I'm not. I call myself a small-time player, and I always go with the long-term vision in all my investors.
I always say people that say they're small, they're actually the big ones. But I want to ask you this question to
Yeah,
say,
but
what has kept that fire in your focus?
I think to the answer to your question about the people who don't have knowledge perish, the key word is focus. How focused are you on your future? Like, I come from a very, very small background. I didn't have a house. I knew I have to buy a house for my family. So I had no option but to be intelligent, to be knowledgeable, to
And where was
study,
this? You
to
grew up
read.
in India?
I grew up in India.
Oh,
yes,
so you
Delhi.
were in deep poverty.
I wasn't in poverty. I come from a
okay.
very well-off family. Just out of
Okay.
all the brothers, my father, God bless his soul, he was not maybe that great at making money. I'd put it that way.
see. So
Not
then you
everybody
got to
has it,
understand that, yeah.
But he was a great man. I remember when, unfortunately, we lost him. Till today, I have people who call me and tell me, hey, your father helped me so much in life. And he couldn't build a palace for himself, but he built so many lives. God bless his soul. And
Wow.
I'm blessed that I have his values. I'm blessed that I am what I am because of him today.
Wow. And you've really got to understand. I mean, you advise the wealthiest of the wealthy. I mean, listening to you, I want to give you all my money to say, hey, let's get into this. But I want to sort of ask and say, for the viewers watching, what are the opportunities at the moment? Let's start with oil. And I'm asking this even for myself to say, where do you see oil hitting? You open up my trades. Do you see oil increasing?
Of course. And I think
To what price?
uh, experts say it could touch $200
Okay.
if this continues. And it is continuing, unfortunately, what's happening, it's continuing. But I'll tell you, the biggest piece of advice for anybody right now, unfortunately, COVID happened and a lot of people became millionaires around you. I'm not saying when people are dying, I should call it an opportunity, but this is a boon for you. It's happening within 7 years. Another incident where you can buy shares, the markets are down, you can buy oil, commodity, everything's down. Why are you not making a position? And if you're somebody who thinks that the world's going to end and you're just going to sit on some cash, then just use that cash, sell off everything and buy a bunker in New Zealand and move with your family, start living there. But if you know that the world will recover and you will make money, then why are you not making a position today?
A position. So you've given us the first one, oil, right? So we're going to buy oil. What else should we be doing? Should we be buying Bitcoin?
See, I'm not a specialist on Bitcoin. You are, I know. But I always say that it is one of the things that everybody should have in their portfolio. Depending on your risk, you will decide the percentage, how much it should be. But if you don't have crypto in your portfolio, specifically Bitcoin, then I think you're losing out on some fun.
I agree with you. Yeah. Although I do think we're going to see a bit of a drop in Bitcoin because people are distressed, and a lot of people that bought Bitcoin are sort of looking for cash. So as a result, I think we will see a bit of a drop, and we'll come back again once we're done. Gold?
Absolutely. It went from 138 to 68, 67. It also went down to 60 at one point. But it'll bounce back because I'm not saying that everybody should believe with what I believe, but with the amount of information that I have and what's happening globally, it can be the future.
Yeah.
Now coming to gold has already rallied the entire last year. It's
It
really
has.
peaking.
I'm upset because I bought gold at 4,600 and now it's dropped to 4. Well, look, I bought it while it was going up, but I kept buying and selling, buying and selling. But I bought recently at 4,600 and it dropped. And I thought, why is it taking so long? Because economics teaches us that during times of uncertainty, gold increases. Up. Yeah, so I'm saying, gold, hello, are you not seeing the uncertainty?
So I'll tell you what is happening with gold. First of all, suggestion to all the viewers, if you want to buy gold, keep buying gold, keep buying crypto, keep buying Bitcoin. If you think you're going to enter at 4,000, at exit 4,600, that's not going to happen. You will make some money, lose some money. You might just end up with nothing. But keep buying gold because it is the future. It's one of the biggest reserves that people use. Why it's dropping right now? Because Fed did not change the rates on the 18th of March. It was, everybody knew they're going to change the rates. The rate's going to go down. And this is the rate that I'm talking about. At what rate they lend money to the US government, the central bank. They didn't. Yes.
Because I know it as at what rate they lend money to the central bank and then the banks get the money and then you get the money.
Yeah,
so if my mind is at what
that's
rate
it.
do you
Indirectly,
get the money?
that's
but
how it happens. So they didn't do that. Because of that, US government bonds persisted. So the biggest investors...
a lot of people don't understand bonds.
Yeah.
But I want us to park there and get back to... So because the US has not given out money at a cheap rate, people are basically broke because they're not willing to take money from the credit card because the interest rates are high. Only when the interest rates drop, then people will take money from the credit card and then buy gold and then gold. But is that true if you're saying that retail, I guess also the wealthy...
No, that's very low level. If you talk about the credit card concept, just... put it aside. That's for the small players.
So this is the banks.
The big players, what they did is when they see the US bonds sustaining their value because the interest went unchanged, and I'm also hearing that they're saying they're going to keep it unchanged till some part of 2027. So now what happens is all the big investors, they have reinforced faith in the US bonds. So they get out of the gold, which is already peaking, and the retailers are constantly buying and it's become volatile. They exited gold, they sold their positions and moved that money into US bonds. Why in crisis gold goes up? Because people sell US bonds in times of uncertainty. They get their money out of the stock market, out of the commodity, out of everything which is volatile, and then they buy gold because that's sustaining. The problem with gold is it doesn't pay you interest. It just goes up in value. Similarly, when I compare it to my clients for real estate in Dubai, they say, hey, I'm going to park my money in gold rather because gold is also growing. I say gold is growing. It can go from 100 dirhams to 110 dirhams in a year. But your property can also go from 100 dirhams to 110 dirhams in a year. Plus that
And
property gives you rent
rental,
back, which the
yeah.
gold, a family will
Wow.
not rent the gold bar from you and live on it, right?
Wow.
How much gold do you have?
Wow. Before you go there, I mean, the way you speak is you're so full of knowledge because my mind, I always try and bring the viewer with us because not every viewer is at the same level. So I always try and think about, that's my interview style to say, where are we losing the viewer? We've lost the viewer at bonds. The viewer is still trying to understand what is a bond, how do I buy bonds, how do bonds work? So I'm wondering whether we should continue with the gold example or get back to bonds. Maybe let's get back to bond. What is a bond?
So US bonds are generally bonds that the government issues to raise capital from people. That's it.
So, but
it's
it's a
you.
mechanism where they draw cash from society to curb inflation.
Yeah, that's how they raise money. That's
And
it.
these bonds, these people get paid for them? They have interest.
So the bonds are issued by the US government and they go ahead and issue it to the general public, to investors, to other governments who buy this and pay US government the money to run the government because they see value in US.
I see. And I mean, I've recently heard, or what we all saw, the Japanese, they had a huge issue with their currency and a huge issue with their bonds. But I want us to move on from there because now the viewers caught up on what bonds are. And I want us to go back into gold. So you're saying the play is always gold or bonds. And you're saying you rather say get into property because property gives you interest. Gold just increases it, but doesn't give you rental income. Do bonds give you interest?
Yes.
Okay. So
that's what you get in exchange. So you basically buy the US bonds and US pays you interest on it. Otherwise, why will you give them your money? It's just a piece of paper.
Whereas gold, I mean, you've just answered why, because I've always asked the question to say, why is it that the older generation, Warren Buffett, etc., always talks about value investing, but doesn't put all his money in gold? Yes. It makes sense to say the shares, the companies give him dividends. So why would I just park my money on a mineral if it's not going to give me dividends at the time if I'm just expecting it to grow? So the perfect time to have bought gold might have been before the war. Even now, I guess, to a certain extent, we might. Do you see, what do you see for gold? Do you see it going above? Where do you see it? 10,000?
I think I don't see 10,000, but everybody says it's going to touch about 6,000. That looks realistic at this moment because, there's been a pushback on the retail investor. And when things slowly start calming down, and yesterday itself, it grew quite a bit, I
saw that.
In Indian terms, I also look at the Indian market because I also buy some gold in India. So in Indian terms, it just went 10,000 rupees in a day. So 10,000 rupees, 400 dirhams per 10 grams.
So I love the fact that all of this is our opinion and none of it is factual. So we don't have to have the constraints of being too formal. We're just having a conversation. But I want to get back into, you told us about, we touched on gold, we touched on oil being obviously the thing everybody's looking at the moment, gold being the safe haven, which might be near its top. But people have often spoken about gold and silver together or use them interchangeably. But when I first discovered silver, I thought, this can't be too serious. It's a cheap thing, And I went down this rabbit hole. There's a gentleman on the internet who's created about like a good 80 channels and they're selling a conspiracy on silver's the next thing, And I thought, okay, this is a scam. But then he goes and says something so profound. He says, China's made silver part of their reserve, to say China's officially said this commodity, we're going to control it. They've
And no
okayed it.
exports. Yeah, no exports.
And they're controlling those exports. And then the second part about it is silver shoots up and goes to about 120.
Yeah.
But what then irritates me is silver drops drastically. And he then comes up with this conspiracy to say silver's being attacked, they're trying to stop China and all of this. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. What's going on with silver?
So I think there has been a pivotal moment for silver. Gold has always been a reserve. You put it in the locker, right? What changed for silver is that silver became a highly desirable commodity. So silver is not lying in my locker. When countries are buying silver, they are securing their future against oil with green energy. So the car batteries for the electric cars,
Yeah.
now you're consuming silver and you need a lot of it because each battery requires a large part of the battery is silver. Now it's inside the battery. It's not in your locker that you bought it and you hold it and then the market sentiment goes down. So you sell it. You can't sell it. You're consuming silver. So now silver is going to act like oil. People need it. So you can't compare silver to gold. It's not to make ornaments or to put it inside palaces or make taps out of it for Indian politicians have taps made out of gold in their homes. That's not it. Silver has a real use case and it is highly desirable, and you can understand what is happening to the energy crisis that I said, the pandemic that is happening right now. That can only be avoided by green sustainable energy. And what you get? Electric cars. Electric cars use a lot of silver. Also, your chips, computer items, everything has silver in it. So it's a consumer commodity and it is required for the future of energy. So that's why silver and gold are not same. And silver now will continue to rise. It's not going to stop. You cannot pull out so much silver from the ground as much as we need today.
So why the drop? Was that an attack on it? Because it went up to about 120 US dollars and then it dropped. And I think now it's about on 70 US dollars. Do you think that it's just pacing itself for the pickup?
I think what happened with silver was the algorithm. That's what I read about. So all of these large investment funds, they have a limit being set on their algos, and it did auto selling for them because it was programmed into the system. You must have watched that on some video or something, right? So there was a sale. But more than that, if you and I are talking about, the geeky and, tin hat sort of people stuff also on this podcast, then maybe someone was that position was created for someone to buy.
I did also hear that it was created such that there was a bank in America that had a short on silver. And apparently when the price went too high, they called the powers that be and they said, hey, we are about to create a financial crisis because we weren't aware that silver will do what silver did and that China will do what China did. And I guess China is very secretive because the president there has a bit of a firm hand in his own respect. So maybe then that little drawdown was more of a let's first wait for all our friends to buckle up before we shoot it up. I want to get into this question to say, you've said something very important. Majority of the people out there, the retail investors, they're really losing money. India, South Africa, developing countries, because there comes a young man, a young woman who has a Lamborghini and says, hey, I got my Lamborghini, buy this. And you're saying that's the wrong time because that's the cash out for the billionaires. I want to get into this to say, is there a deliberate, is the reason people are poor because there is a deliberate misinformation at the top? And what I mean by that is that if silver rallies and everybody buys silver, I'm giving an example, the rich have not bought silver. So they're concerned to say, oof, we didn't get in, and they don't break their rules to say we only get in at the bottom, we don't get in at the top. So they all say, right, let's all do it together, or these algos or whatever's being blamed, they bring it down. When they bring it down, retail is now saying, oh, but I bought silver, you lied, because that's what I was going to say to you, to say, but if silver's so important, then why is it in up? And now that they've all lined up their stomachs, they then say, right, now we're all good, fire it. And silver goes back up, and retail says, oh, I made a mistake, let me get back in. And somebody comes out and says, I'm going to teach you how to do a silver trading course. And you're like, oh, I remember I should have bought silver.
Yeah.
And then you go in and you lose your money. Is that what's going on?
I think point number one, if there is a hand that encourages these influencers to go and do that, possibly, why not? If I'm somebody who's bought a lot of silver at a certain price and I want it to go up, even if I'm not paying these trading influencers, half of them are scam, by the way, I will not stop them, no? Why will I stop this misinformation? Because they are getting the retail investors, fools, to come and buy it, and they will increase the demand. When demand goes up and supply is almost static, then of course the commodity price will go up. When the price will go up, I already bought it way before you watched this video on Instagram. So now I will sell and I will crash it for you. So I'm not saying they're encouraging them, but they will not even stop the Instagrammers or these trading gurus. But one of the things that you should understand that, and again, conspiracy theory, very interesting. Watch this movie called Thank You for Smoking. So there, very quick summary of the movie. There's three friends. One is the one who is a lobbyist and sort of heading the brand image for cigarettes. One is for arms and ammunition, and one is for alcohol. And the movie starts that they're sitting in a bar and discussing how their industry is working. And that's where I saw how lobbyists will influence the senators and the ministers to make sure that tobacco and cigarettes survive. One of the scenes that I love is that he says, how much I do for this industry? I want to make sure that when XYZ actor makes love to XYZ actress on a spacecraft, when they're done making love, he pulls out of a pack a cigarette and smokes it. So he pays so much money to the movie industry to make sure that actor, which everybody looks up to, smokes after making love.
Sure.
So there is a lot of influence. There is a lot of influence for everything.
And I mean, as you're saying that, I'm thinking of the other side to say, I'm even laughing to say, if that actor had to take out an apple or a carrot after making love, people wouldn't watch it, Yeah. And actually, that's the right thing to do, to say the world sort of pushes us to the side of deception when we should be as wise as a serpent to say, hold on, if there's too much clout then that's an issue. I want to get into this to say, for the layman out there who's listening to us and saying, I want to change my life, I want to do research, I want to invest, and maybe let's say they want to say, okay, you know what? People are saying that Dubai property market is down, and they want to give you a call and say, hey, let's get into Dubai property market because we believe it's going to go up after this whole ordeal. But as they want to give you that phone call, they open the news and they see something has happened. They're like, oh no, I'm not going to call him. And you're saying to them, actually, now would be a good time. And they say, no. And then when they open the news one day, it says, all right, things are calm, peace, there's a flag and people are happy. Then they call you and the market's already turned. Is there a loneliness? How do they gather the courage of giving you the money now? Is it that have investors lost their emotion with money that they're able to invest with sort of tears in their eyes to say, I'm investing when everybody else is screaming, oh, this has happened and it's scary and, there's a crash. And they're investing only for them to smile later on because they've learned that that's the process of investing.
Of course. See, I will address this with all the people who've been telling me throughout 2025 that there is a correction coming, there is a correction coming, there is a correction coming. Here's the correction. And they're still not making a move. I'll tell you, when you said that, during the war, if I call you and I say invest, you don't like it. But this is where this example comes. When you want to buy a property and I'm a consultant and I'll say, hey, this is the opportunity, come on, I present you the opportunity, I'm literally crying because I see it, I believe in it. You don't like it because there's negativity with it. I'm trying to sell you something. But what humans find comfort in is you pick up the phone and speak to your friend who's been living in Dubai for 17 years, and he says, hey, you know what, the market's like this. So you feel he's taking care of you. That's the emotion. So you feel positive and you go with his suggestion while he works on a software. He doesn't know anything about real estate market, and you take his suggestion because it's comforting. It lets you remain within your comfort zone. If you got to make money, you got to step out of your comfort zone. Larger the risk, larger the gain. But you don't want to take that risk because it drags you out of your comfort zone. And that's where you are sitting with your money, holding it like Scrooge.
Sure. Yeah. It reminds me of sowing in tears and reaping with joy. That's one of the statements that I've heard that I've never really understood. And when I wrote my first book, that was one of the principles that really got me to understand how life works in terms of certain things. I want to get into what's going on now because everybody's talking about the Strait of Hormuz. And, I said to somebody the other day, I said, we've heard so many pronunciations of it. BBC calls it something else. The Indian media is calling South African media. Somebody said Hamonzi the other day. And I was like, it's not Hamonzi. What is this strait and why is it so important?
So see, Strait of Hormuz is a narrow gap, about, I think, 200 kilometers or miles. And that's where all of the energy and the oil and the gas comes out of the Arab region and goes to the rest of the world. Because it's this shaped, this is where everybody is, and everybody has to go out and go to the world. And this is where Saudi is, this part. So what's happening right now with Iran holding it off and not letting the ships pass? The problem is, I think there used to be about 282 ships daily, and it's come down to less than 20. So what is happening is there's a huge oil crisis across the world because countries like China, they had huge dependency on the Gulf energy. 80% of the oil is stuck. It's not going out. 20% of the gas is stuck. It's not going out. But more than the oil and gas, which we just read about, and we look at commodity and money going out, money going up, there's a huge impact on food. Fertilizer, urea, is a byproduct of oil refining. It's not reaching the farmers. There'll be a food crisis very soon. Then you have a byproduct, the helium gas.
Where's the fertilizer coming from? The Arab regions as well?
Of course, it's a byproduct of oil refining.
Got it. Then
also the helium. Helium is the biggest component that is required to cool down your quantum computers, your chips and everything. So the prices of these things are going up, and you're stepping into the AI age, and these AI age the AI age equipments, they require helium to cool them down, but there's no helium. So the prices are going up and everything's getting hit. If we keep going up and deeper, everybody's life is impacted. It's not just that people in India don't have gas cylinders, or South Korea has started rationing the fuel. I think yesterday itself they started. Philippines has almost grounded all their airlines because they don't have oil to refuel the jets. All of this impact, imagine people are not able to move, resources are not able to move, people don't have gas to cook food, and over and above that, if there is no fertilizer, right now the crop will not have the same kind of production levels as they used to with the fertilizer, because the growth gets impacted. Whatever been sowed a couple of months back has to be harvested. Let's say we were supposed to get 100 units out of that because of the fertilizer, but now the fertilizer is not there. So those 100 units might just come out to be 80. We already have a food deficit for the world today, not tomorrow. It's already happening. It's a domino effect. Slowly, one after the thing will fall. Media will make a story of it and will come to the layman, but they don't understand. They are all going crazy about Dubai real estate. They don't know they won't have food on the table after a few months if this extends.
I mean, I want to get onto the fertilizer to say, is it that this was made in terms of why is it that these crops need the fertilizer? Is it that the soil has eroded over time?
Of course. Yeah, that's the technology, right? If you call it a technology, the soil has certain nutrients, and over a period of time, they deplete. And that's when you put the fertilizer. It's your protein powder.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and people have been moving away from organic and focusing on higher yields, more profit.
Yeah.
So all of this is a result of human greed to move faster, to get more food going, and now we're all having to step a little bit back and say, oof, this is now a bit of an issue.
But one thing I want to say here.
Yeah.
While I spoke about the negative aspect of it, look at the positive aspect of it. This is where the safety comes into place. The entire world is a single community, many small villages interdependent on each other. That is a lot of safety. That's where, when you say the World War will happen, World War III will happen, at least this interdependency. What do you think? Iran doesn't import anything? They have so many sanctions. He needs so much support from so many people around him. So even he's thinking like that. But yes, they've been talking about that they have a mentality that they'll have a total war and they'll go all out. That's a different thing. But if somebody is sitting and saying we will survive, then we will only survive when everybody cooperates. Because let's say China wants fuel to make the product, but they still sell it to US. You keep talking about China and US have friction. But if the Americans stop buying Chinese stuff, what will happen to the Chinese economy?
So listening to you, I mean, I'm beginning to understand the bigger picture here, to say we all have a ventured interest in making sure that this war does not gain more momentum, that there is peace on the earth, because fertilizers, less food, oil, less movement, less globalization, less, the world is just moving backwards. And you then mentioned the third thing. What was helium? Yes. Less AI. Because I don't really mind the less AI, but I guess many people do. So less AI and less all of that stuff. I sort of get to a place where my mind is flooded with all this information, and maybe the viewer sitting there saying, these two nerds have really fried my brains today. And they sort of want a movie out of this. And let me tell you the movie I want out of this. I've always thought about or heard the concept, especially in Africa, that justice will be served, and we grew up believing that we're aware as Africans that the whole world has tied Africa down to loans. And I think India and Africa suffer the same fate. We're seen as the poor, developing, you always hear third world. And we've sort of always said that the wealth transfer is coming, and we're holding on to this thought that the wealth transfer is coming. And we somewhat believe that when this wealth transfer comes, we will become richer, right? I've got two sides of the movie, how the movie ends. The first part is America and all these countries that are fighting, that are seeming to be developed, fight each other so much that they both have to focus on rebuilding because they've destroyed each other. But the other side is the war stops, but still Africa and India and the rest of the places which will not come to the war because we don't have the weapons that you guys have, and we will just, you've already done everything you've wanted to do. We will let you do it already. How is this going to end? Is my dream of the wealth transfer going to happen if the war stops now? Will it happen if these two sides destroy each other? What is the end of this movie?
See, the wealth transfer will not happen so easily. You have to understand, first of all, the wealth transfer will only happen when you have value. If you have value in this podcast, you will have viewers. If you have value in the information that you share, people will consult with you.
Africa and India have people, and they're saying that people are their value.
No, I think people are not the value. I think India has a population crisis. If we had lesser people, we would have lesser crime, better management. It's easier to manage lesser people. But even though I know the Africans and the Indians, us together, we've seen a lot under the British rule, but I will not put India in the same bucket today because India has really outgrown all of this. So I don't see India in that light today. India, on the other hand, was the 5th largest economy just 2 years ago. We are running so fast. India's dependency continues to be on certain aspects, but Indian's economy, everybody's banking on it. The amount of investment India has right now, I think this is where I would want you to research more, because the
You know
India
why I
that you
disagree?
are imagining
Yeah.
is eons ago.
I respect that because you're saying it from the Indian perspective and saying you love your country. But to America,
No. If I love my country, I would be living in India. But I'm
but-
telling you, the kind of money that's happening in India right now.
I'm aware of that,
Yeah.
the gig economy and all of that. But
Yeah.
I'm saying to America, they don't see India. Or
They don't see
Africa
anybody.
As a threat.
No, they don't see anybody as
They
a
do
threat.
see Korea as a threat.
See, no. That's the narrative.
You don't think they see North Korea as a threat?
Why will they see North Korea as a threat?
Because they have their own power. They do have the equipment that is needed to wage a good warfare.
Okay,
Russia is a threat.
I agree with you. But look at the size and population of North Korea. How will they sustain an invasion again when US arrives on their, land? How will they? Why will
India and Africa?
Why is US never says, hey, we are scared of North Korea because they have a nuclear weapon. They say that they are a threat to the world. Going back to the village example, they are not saying that your village, Richard, is a threat to me. They are telling the other villages that Richard is a crazy kookadoo in the head and he's got a nuclear warhead, so I am standing up for all of you guys to make sure he doesn't hit any one of you.
I'm the protector of the world. Yeah.
Yes, so it's not a threat for US. Maybe they're just creating that so that the narrative flows easily in the minds of the people. Like you think they're a threat. How are they a threat?
Yeah, I mean,
But I'll tell
I
you,
thought of that because of the media. Yeah.
circling back to India, India is not a threat to anyone, but India still manages to grow. How is that? They manage their diplomatic relations. India has never attacked anybody. You know that. Historically, India has never attacked anybody. And why?
I have to disagree because my issue with what you're saying is India has not attacked anyone because they're weak. And you're trying to make it seem like India has not attacked anyone because they're smart. Yes, they are smart to understand that they are weak, that they are not attacking anybody. The same with Africa, to say, my issue is, if you are not going to attack anybody, let's make no mistake, there's two reasons. One, you will lose. Two, you're smart enough to realize you will lose. Because if those were not the two reasons, you would have attacked them to win.
So let me be very clear. India is nothing against the US Army. Of course, a lot of countries, most of the countries
Nothing
are
against
not.
Russia as well.
But I'll tell you, India has the allies. We have the BRICS.
No, BRICS is not
Africa-
a real thing. BRICS has done nothing so far.
It's not done anything because US is threatened by the BRIC, the currency which has been planned. But coming back to India, see, India, us as a religion, we never talk. If you read our religious scriptures also, we never put up a fight. We always say, hey, this is wrong. But if it happens, then we will step up. And you will read those scriptures, you will understand. It's a long conversation. We'll just digress. But for India, diplomatically, what is happening in, what's happening with the other side of Pakistan? Who's doing that? Don't you think India has some role diplomatically to fuel that?
I was not aware of that. President Khan is in prison. Are you saying India's involved? How would India?
No, not with Pakistan.
Okay.
So Pakistan is in war with who?
I'm not.
Okay. So before the Iran-US happened, which was the war that happened before Iran and US? Just a few days before, maybe a week.
I remember there was some
Pakistan,
commotion.
Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Afghanistan and India are the best of friends. If you go to Afghanistan today and say, I'm an Indian, he'll say, hey, you're my brother, sit, eat in my restaurant for free. That's the kind. India has always supported Afghanistan whenever they had a drought, they had a famine, we send them food, we supported them, we've always been with them. We constructed their ports, their airports, what not infrastructure we've constructed for, it's all went to waste when, US happened. But
I need you to.
But, India plays diplomatically. Otherwise, China's sitting next to us. They've been threatening us for so many years. They want to take over this, take over that. Read about how Sikkim happened. So you will understand India plays its power. Right now, India is a place where everybody's put their money. So read how much FDI India has, how much foreign direct investments have happened.
It's all extractionary.
No, they're putting money into India. So
to
people
be
from
able to extract.
That's the value.
I think my problem is I'm talking to a man who's from India, who's defending his posterity and his country, which I want to respect. But I'm looking at the global stage to say on the global
I'll
stage,
say something.
India is not as powerful as you're making it seem, but in this room, India can be powerful because you're from there. It's the very
No,
same
I'll tell
thing
you
as me
something.
saying
This
Africa's
is where
powerful.
this is where I won't argument and I'll rest it.
Okay.
If I was patriotic, I was this, I was that, I'd be in India, no? Why am I in Dubai? 2013. I'm not saying, I spoke about gold, silver, oil, everything is acceptable. Do I belong to gold? That's where you have a perception. That's where your judgment is colored. I'm just being neutral and presenting you facts.
So can I present my facts?
If
Can I present my side?
let's try to agree to this point. Do you know what is the size of India's GDP and what is the India's, why don't you quickly do a search? What is the GDP ranking of India in the world? Is it number 5 or number 3? Check it.
Okay, hold on. I want to bring you back to this point, right? Because I'm very much aware of this narrative. Africa has
number 4th in the world.
Yeah, 4th in the world. I'm not disagreeing. I'm disagreeing.
Again, going back to the point that I'm just a consultant, I'm sharing knowledge, I'm not competing with you. What is Africa?
Okay, so we're doing it, guys, in studio. This is all happening live. We're doing this in studio.
No, I'm not saying. See, Africa has its own challenges. You have a lot of political issues. India, on the other hand, is one of the largest democracies in the world. Imagine
holding
a
word that doesn't
back.
exist in India. You're using a word that doesn't exist in India because India is the same India that when files came out about a certain person, which we won't mention, the Indian parliament beat up young people for trying to raise the fact that politicians were involved in those files. That's not a democracy. I want to bring this point here to say, my problem with the India-Africa story is if we don't admit that our countries are not working, we will not be saved. And let me put it in this way. India sounds good on paper. Africa sounds good on paper. Can I sell you Africa? We have helium. We have oil. We have gas. You don't need the Strait of Hormuz. South Africa has got all the oil, all the gas. But the question then comes to say, how do I extract it? You can't.
I'll give you
the president will be changed in the next 5 years.
I'll give you a very molecular level example of this.
Go ahead.
Very simplified for everybody who doesn't know India, who doesn't know Africa. Microsoft, Apple, Google, Meta. They open an office in Africa, they open an office in India. The employee from India can easily get out of work, go have a drink, go home. Maybe he'll be mugged or robbed sometime, but rarity. But when employees go to Africa, they have clear instructions. If somebody stops your car, give them everything. Give them the car, give them the phone, give them everything.
Tell you what happens in India. Let me tell you what happens in India. They'll be scammed.
Yeah, they will.
Their phone will be hacked. Their money will be taken from their bank account.
Their
product will
let's not
the
see.
app will be copied by 200 people.
I'll tell you
something. There's no
something.
lawyer that will stop it. So
I'll tell
when
you something.
Africa steals physically, India steals through its tech. So they'll say,
I'll again present facts here.
Yes, yeah, but they'll say,
present
facts.
facts.
I'll keep giving you rebuttals.
I'll present facts.
I'll keep giving you rebuttals.
The number one fact that I want to present, besides the Romanians, and sorry guys, I love you. You party well. Where did you remember those emails that used to come to our Yahoo inboxes 10 years ago that you've got $1 million in inheritance? Africa. Indians have just learned from Africans.
That is not true.
It is even today. The African guy.
No,
Yes.
it's not. And let me explain why I'm saying that. You go to America, 401k scams. You go to America, Salesforce
Yeah,
representatives at
that is
this
there.
bank, India.
But I'll
And then
tell
you
you.
go and follow up on these compounds.
Yeah.
Indian corporations have got corporate structures
This happens
that scam
everywhere.
people. No, it doesn't happen in
Richard,
other countries. In
happens
America, it
in
doesn't
Dubai
happen.
also.
Doesn't
How many scams
No,
happen
but those
in
people are
Dubai?
not sitting in Dubai because there is a rule of law. There is a rule
See,
of law that does have a
There are
justice system that
firms.
works.
There are firms who have scammed people in Dubai and vanished overnight.
But that firm is not a structured place that it deals.
But it
that
was
is owned by
within
the
Dubai.
politician.
That was within Dubai.
Yeah, but that person is not in parliament tomorrow
See,
deciding on the laws.
I'll tell you, corruption.
And then let's
Corruption
move
is.
over
I
to-
agree with
let's
you.
move over to
Corruption is there.
abusing human beings by paying them below what they're supposed to be paid. My rhetoric, and I love that you're from India and I'm from Africa, and we're both talking about our countries, because if Europeans were talking about this, I would have already attacked them, right?
I want to end this conversation
don't
by
want to
saying,
end
hey, you know what?
Yes.
Hey, you know what? Just check the size of my GDP and your GDP and just
Okay,
end
hold
it
on.
there. That's
Africa's
it.
GDP, let's get it. What size is Africa's GDP compared to India's GDP? Whereas India's the fifth,
Fourth.
fourth.
33rd, fourth. See, you have your own challenges. I'm agreeing to it. There is crime, there is politician. And that happens when energy comes in. Everybody's
Let me throw in
exploiting
my last
Africa.
punch. Let me throw in my last
See, I'll
punch.
tell you.
Let me throw in my last punch.
We can get
At least Africans get along.
We'll get emotional about it. I also feel very unsafe, you know, when I go meet some clients late night in Gurgaon and I stay on the other side of Delhi, which is Noida. When I'm driving, I'm scared, you know, somebody could just stop my car, take my laptop. Something could happen. That I know. But then these instances, while are dangerous, still you see there are thousands of companies who are opening offices in India. All the Fortune 500 companies have their headquarters, thousands of employees working. Why they are going there? And you have Westerners living there. I'll tell you, I want you to just simply visit. I'll take you to a place called Gurgaon. That's where we have our, you know, basic corporate infrastructure. Or I'll take you to Bangalore, where, you know, we have the IT hubs and everything. I'll take you to the store. You have Westerners living there because they work there. They are there because they see some value, and there is certain level of safety if you remain cautious. But unfortunately, even if I'm cautious and I lock my doors and I do everything, there is lawlessness in Africa.
Okay.
That's where, you know,
no,
like, you know,
hold
even if I run I run a business in Africa, I know that my truck going from one city to other city is not safe. At least I know in India it's going. No, I'm talking about the guy, corporate executive with the laptop.
Yes, of
I'm
course.
talking about girls are not safe at
course.
night in some cities. But I'm saying when a truck gets loaded from Delhi and it has to go to Bangalore, it gets there. It doesn't get there in Africa. That's a challenge you guys need to solve.
I think the problem is you're forgetting that Africa has the natural resources that India doesn't have.
Yes.
We do have the truck going because we do have the resources. I'll give you an example. In one part in Africa, you can create a Tesla from start till finish. You can create a rocket from start till finish without looking for anyone else. Food, Africa can sustain itself. So in terms of the value and in terms of the growth, we have it. We do have lawlessness, we agree. However, what we find in India is that the problem of India is its people. When one Indian man succeeds, he so bullies everybody else under them to the point where their voice is not even heard. How do you get a politician in India who's stolen money? And when people are saying, hey, he's stolen money, he beats them up. How is the Western world going to respect a system where you beat up your own people? Young children are brought into slave-like labor. The places where people stay, they'll say in India, oh, government had so many billions, but people are in slums. Slumdog millionaire. We all know it because of that story. India will not find the respect that Africa has because they don't have anything but their people. But even their people, they abuse them. Africa, our people are too free, and then they are criminals. Because in Africa, the reason the truck is being stopped is not because of what you think it's being stopped. The reason it's being stopped is because they're aware that the truck is carrying diamonds that have billions and they don't have any money. So they say, well, instead of us stealing, you call it stealing, they call it the right way of justice. Stop. How many diamonds do you have? We have 30,000 diamonds. Will it hurt for you to give me 1,000 diamonds? So we will go and investigate that and say, this guy, yes, it's criminal, but he was trying to survive from people that were stealing our minerals. Yes, we'll try and prosecute, but we will not demean his humanity for the sake of pleasing the outsiders. We will find ways to deal with it in the way that it should be dealt with. But I need you to understand that the problems of India and Africa are very similar. We are the least disrespected in the world, and it becomes important that we recognize that to fix it. Because my issue comes when we sit together and you say, in India, young people are in tech, they're all very good at tech, and you find that they're being paid $1 per hour to build something that in America, an American takes the tech and he builds it or bills at $200 per hour. Then in Africa, you've got the machinery that will make that tech, right? So be it a Cybertruck or whatever, but that mineral is being taken for cents of the dollar, but in America it's being sold for. So my question is, or rather what I'm trying to bring us to is, we're in bad shape, both of these countries, India and Africa. And the reason we're not participating in this war is because we are already in a war, and the war is called taking everything they have from these countries. Our conversation should be pointing out those discrepancies to fix them, rather than us acting strong in a world where the strong are benefiting.
I agree with you. We should stand together, and we do. I'll speak on your behalf. Let's go back to the conspiracy theories. Maybe they are not letting you grow because they will eventually want stake in your energy.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe they're
Who
not
knows?
letting Africa grow because we're self-sustaining.
Yeah,
We're
you
the
have the
only
food,
continent.
you have
We
the
have
farms,
oil,
you have the
we
land,
have the helium,
you have the resources,
we have the people.
you have the rare earth metals, you have
Yes.
everything, and everybody's coming there. I've seen some, and I don't base my judgment on it, but I've seen whatever I told you about Africa is the conversations I've had with businessmen or people who already live in Africa and they invest in Dubai. Or my cousin,
I'll
he used to
admit,
work.
Whatever I know about India is what I got from the media.
No.
So mine is a different
No,
perspective.
that's, yeah. I have only told you, like my cousin, he used to work in Africa. So he told me that he had clear instructions. We'll buy you a new phone, we'll buy you a new car.
We're aware
don't
of
worry.
these things, yeah.
So, but maybe Africa is not growing because they don't want it to grow, and they will come to you eventually.
So for now, we grow India.
Because you've got so much self-sustenance, they're just getting you bad leaders, corruption. Your narrative, your story, your reality that they have created is what you see in Africa today.
And scarcity.
Maybe somebody is getting dollars and getting paid to increase crime in Africa. Who knows? And talking about reality, I wanted to tell you this. A lot of people, if they want to get into this conspiracy theory business, then, and this will also help us move away from India and Africa.
Okay. Because I'm fueled up. I'm ready to go. But okay, let's move away from it. And get back to the
if you want to talk about reality, then I would really suggest everybody to watch this series called Westworld. 8.5 IMDb rating. Many people don't know about it. Mostly, it's like every episode is a high definition, expensive shot feature film. You got to watch this, and before you watch this, if you're somebody who's read the scriptures, who's done meditation and believe in the higher power, higher frequency where we can go and reach a different state of mind or a different reality, Westworld is made for you. Please watch it. It might, if you watch that series and step away from it, then the tin hat people will think that we're living in a simulation. But it also, in a broad spectrum, can tell you that the reality that you live is probably just a narrative.
Wow. Powerful. Powerful.
But then...
Powerful, because you're right. That's the narrative of India.
Yeah,
and
you
maybe
only...
that is not true.
Your reality. So you wake up in the morning, not you, average man, wakes up in the morning, gets ready, breakfast, coffee, work, another coffee, drives down, music, works, break, gossip, more Instagram, comes back, more Instagram, TV, news. I watch the news. That's what I believe.
Pleasure.
So imagine if you're a baby. You live in a house where your parents keep telling you, wow, this world is amazing and we made a lot of money and we can make a lot of money. The world is full of opportunities. And then there's another guy who keeps hearing there are no opportunities, there's crime, and this world is doomed and there is no growth. That's what they hear. That's their narrative. That's their reality. That's their perception of the world. That's how they grow up to be. Which of these two kids will be more successful? You tell me.
Of course, the one that's being told the good narrative.
Absolutely. So you try to understand that all of this news and media is only to distract you from your goals. I'm not even saying from the reality, but from your own goals, from your own success. Today, you're sitting with so much money in your account, you want to invest, you want to go ahead, but the media is telling you the world is coming to an end, there will be a nuclear holocaust, and the World War III is coming, and you're like, no, let me sit with the cash. But is it going to happen? And even if it happens, my question to you is, if the nuclear holocaust happens, that money today sitting in your account will be evaporated with you. So might as well get your $100, $250 before the nukes get fired. If they don't, at least you have 150.
I like that narrative. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, Nelson Mandela, when he came, he met the Honorable Sheikh Mohammed of Dubai. And when he left, he was telling people about the Dubai model. And Dubai is now having the financial centers, the 7th best financial center in the world, according to the new ratings that just came out. And I've always said to people that if Africa, if India, the ones that have been told a bad narrative, could really see what Dubai has done, and we allow this to be an example of a financial hub, because I said to somebody that it's very dangerous for us to believe that people in New York City on Wall Street care about us. But it's very different when your neighbor's being affected by something, you can't ignore it. And I said, Africa and India have definitely seen what Dubai has built. If this can be our financial hub, our financial center, our core, where we allow this core to exist, and from then forth, we branch into all these countries to fix the mess that we created. Because remember, the biggest issue is that when we try and fix the mess, our currencies are problematic. Then the world can then see a new different vision of Africa and India, and boxing in every single other country that has been seen with the wrong narrative. What are your thoughts?
See, I think this is a great way to look at things. Collaboration, working as a team, growing together. This is all good. And of course, when a name like Nelson Mandela comes, who am I to say anything? But at the end of the day, everybody has to grow their own food and sustain their own families, right? While this regional growth will be great, but at the end of the day, I think what a better angle to look at, only in view of Dubai, coming back to Dubai, when everybody says Dubai is going to crash, Dubai is going to this, Dubai is going to that, Dubai's got everybody's money, and let's say we are all playing poker, 20 of us, and there's money in the pot. That pot is Dubai. Would you, me, or the rest of the 18 guys let anybody kick that pot? Or it's a high-stake game. You've seen the growth. It's astronomical. Step out, look around all of this infrastructure. How did it get created? You know the history of Dubai, right?
Yeah.
When they came in the 1800s here, they had nothing.
Yes.
The royal Maktoum family, when they arrived, nothing. And even the pearl trade crashed because Japan started doing the lab pearls.
The lab pearls.
They didn't come with these trillions. Even if you know His Highness Sheikh Rashid, God bless his soul, he took the risk of taking a massive loan to get the Jebel Ali port made. And I think people were laughing at time. Why is he taking such a loan and taking such a big debt to create Jebel Ali? And you know what he did after doing the port? Made it free. Till today, we are a free zone. Jebel Ali is a free zone till today. Why? Because that's how he pulled in all them. He was a visionary. He was a huge visionary. So all of this which is created around you, coming back to your point and the pot, everybody put their money here. That's why this infrastructure came in. Otherwise, it was just sand.
Sure.
So everybody's money is here. So everybody in the media will try to drag it down. I say there's a lot of propaganda. I'm sure there's so many reasons. If I think as an Indian, how many of us would want to pay the media a lot of money to finish off Dubai? I think a lot. I think the real estate developers, they would be paying the media houses to, scare the investors away from Dubai and keep their money retained in India, because that was loss of investment and opportunities for them. The government, the Indian government, going back to our dollar strategy, what is important for the economy of every country? One of the points was Forex, how much money they hold in reserve. India has been thriving because all the Indian NRIs, non-resident Indians, they used to go out of India, work in US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and send that money back home. Now that money is going to Dubai and people are buying real estate. So maybe the government is also I'm going to zip it here. But if the media takes this opportunity and they run the propaganda and scare the Indian investors, almost 40 to sometimes even some data even says 60% of real estate buyer, some data, usually it's 40, is Indians.
But here's my question. With what you're saying to say that the pot of money is already here, right?
Yeah.
If the Indian politicians and everybody is already invested in Dubai, why would they allow that to happen? Do you think it's still that element of human evilness to say, or maybe they don't control the media?
Not everybody is invested.
So there are those that want to see it.
Yeah, if you run the numbers, we are 140 crores. That's about 1.4 billion people in India. Not every politician has money here.
So
I'm not saying that even one has.
Yeah.
But not everybody has the same narrative, and not everybody benefits out of this.
I saw people posting on social media like fake videos of, buildings and stuff into.
But let me ask you, let's say offline, this is all offline. Let's say offline ministers meet in India. This is all cooked up in my cuckoo brain. Yeah. I'm crazy. I'm not. I'm just talking.
Theories,
I'm just talking nonsense. But if they all sat together, not all have property in Dubai. So let's say 2 are corrupt, who maybe siphoned off some money through Hawala and bought something here. I don't know. I don't know those guys. But will they speak up in the meeting and say, no, don't run this propaganda, I will lose my money? No, of course they will not. But will India benefit that the money stops exiting from their economy and consumers buy property in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, in Goa, in Pune, in Maharashtra, all over, in Mumbai, in Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida? Or they will benefit if the money goes out and then they buy in Dubai? So of course, naturally, your villagers have started throwing money out of your village into my village. Now you are cooking up this story. Hey, don't go there. You see what happened to Bharat's village. Don't go there. Invest here. I told you before. You were all going there.
How do you fight back those people that are doing that? Because how do we sustain
with numbers? With numbers.
With the actual work being done.
With actual facts. The only way to cut through the noise, with the gossip, with the media, with the propaganda, is present numbers.
Be firm on the numbers, yeah.
Numbers.
And
keep presenting
gives
facts.
You the wrong information.
Yes.
Deal with
because
them.
You have to understand, again, going back to the example which I gave you before in this conversation, that I'm a consultant who's telling you, hey, Dubai story is still not over. But your friends, the naysayers, the guys who hate you back in India, they're sipping beer and now they got their opportunity and they're telling you, I told you, buy here in Delhi, but you went to Dubai. What happened? You know that happens, right? You can relate to it, right? So try to understand. There's 100 people shouting that there's a problem in Dubai, and only maybe 10 people shouting that there's no problem. Who will you believe? But eventually, let me tell you, these guys who are getting influenced over a beer conversation and getting uncertain because of what their friends or media is saying, they are the retail small ticket investors. They always lose money.
All over again.
They are the one who are getting influenced, and their wives are coming back. Yeah,
they are buying everything.
The wives are coming back from the party.
After a
Yeah,
few years,
the wives are coming back from the same party, lying in the bed and elbowing the husband and saying, I told you, don't go to Dubai. I told you, you went there, put the money. But I'll tell you, but see, this is where the opportunity is. This is where the opportunity is for you. I'm saying that this is the time. They are scared. They are selling, retail investors selling gold when it's here. They're dropping the market. You enter, because if you have faith in Dubai, it will go back up. And come to resilience. This is the time we talk about Dubai's resilience. Everybody's making video about 2008, COVID-19. Do you know, when we start from the 1800s, pearl trade, 1971, UAE was formed, 2nd December. Then we go on to the Jebel Ali port. What a risk. Then we had, Iraq happened. Then we also had the Gulf region tension before that, I don't know how many days war. Then you had 2001. Then you had the dot-com bubble and the whole thing collapsed. 2008, 2014 oil crisis, 2020, 21 COVID. And then you have today. And today, for everybody, let me tell you, if you think that the way you are reacting, Dubai is reacting, Dubai was the first country to order THAAD systems from US in 2009. Everybody was laughing. Just like Jebel Ali Port, everybody was laughing. It was billions worth of deal and everybody was laughing. Why is Dubai buying THAAD systems? Back in 2009, 2015, the first battery was delivered. So you think Dubai wasn't prepared? How is Dubai avoiding and intercepting countering all of this 95, 98, 90% of missiles and drones? They were ready for it. The leader, our leader, is a visionary. He saw this. He protected us long back ago. You can count 2,000 missiles and projectiles. What is it? UAE has how many people? Close to 11 million, roughly, just to make the example sound better. I'm not saying there's no worth of human life, but how many people, unfortunately, God bless their soul, lost their lives? Close to 11. That's some of these countries, US, Canada, Africa, India, China, you lose maybe you lose so many lives per second because of the crime and the lawlessness. And what is happening? You are craving for energy today and you're like watching the news, you don't have gas cylinders. What is happening? We have gas, we have oil. Oil is less than 1% of the UAE economy. It's not even one of the pillars. I don't even call it the pillar. We still have oil. We still have sustenance. We planned for this. Let me tell you. So the THAAD system and then the Patriot system was bought, and then there's one more. So there are 3 layers. I'm forgetting the third one. This is how they safeguarded the people, because they always knew this is a volatile region. Only the less research retail investors who are just running crazy right now because they just heard a broker say great things, looked at shiny brochures and they bought the property. But the real investors know this. We have these layers. We always had known that this threat exists close to us. And, there are people, consultants who tell the royal family, they inform us this should be something that you be prepared for. Similarly, Strait of Hormuz. I'm not saying Strait of Hormuz is not impacting us. But why did Saudi make that 300-kilometer pipeline? They knew it. Why did UAE do the pipeline from Abu Dhabi all the way to Fujairah? Why did they do it? One of the videos where I went viral talking about Professor Jiang, I was talking about that we still have
That's
Port
why I
of
invited you
Fujairah.
here,
Yeah.
Because I saw
So
that, I said, you
I
took him
know
on.
the same night there was a small incident at the Fujairah port also. But then you have to understand, don't look at what's happening right now and, I think the Asians who are watching the news and making this propaganda, or the Europeans, you are more impacted than me. I'm sitting here, I have water, I have heating, I have everything. And my country, my leadership, had prepared for it. They even prepared for Strait of Hormuz. That's why they invested in this pipeline. Do you think it was a small project? What kind of investment? And only a visionary, somebody who understands threat. So think of it like this. Only a concerned father with true survival instincts, which I spoke about, will protect his family 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead.
Sheikh Mohammed, my goodness.
That's it.
I'm even getting goosebumps because to have thought and seen it all through is and as you're speaking, all I'm thinking about is the oil example to say the retail investor buys at 80, sees it goes to 100, sees a few turbulence drop. Is this happening? They sell. And what happens is the billionaires buy at that low price. And when it gets to 200, because remember, everybody's waiting for peace to hear that the market is at peace. And then they're going to come and buy. But when they're buying at the top because the rich have already positioned themselves and taken the cream of the crop and done that. And I'm looking at this even from a business perspective to say it goes against every fiber of poverty to say to somebody, double down your business on Dubai now. Open more locations. Get more. If you had to say to a grocery store right now and say, hey, listen, go to every single mall and sign 20-year contracts, anchor stores, you're going to take over. One would say to you, are you crazy? I'm going to wait first for things to be calm. But you're right. After waiting, people have already taken those opportunities. So actually, now is the time for one to do that.
Absolutely. See, that's where, the biggies, actually, that's where the biggies come into play.
Yeah,
like
that's where
I
Warren
keep
Buffett
telling you,
deploys.
I'll give you a classic example. I think, God bless you, you brought this into the conversation, somebody getting 20 stores in the mall. You saw what happened at the Primark launch at Dubai Mall?
Yeah.
Primark could have delayed it.
Yeah.
Primark could have just said, no, I'm not going to open. Malls could be empty. There could be that,
in now.
they could have thought, oh, this is a lull. But that's a belief. That global brand has belief in the leadership here. They know what the future is. They still went ahead and launched the store. Now somebody will say, oh no, they had to launch because the store was ready and they're paying rent and whatever. I know that's also a way to look at it. And you, my friend, who's looking at it like that is the one who doesn't make money when the markets dip because you're a pessimistic.
I'm even looking at it from the perspective of what you're saying to say, the truth is, Dubai market was already raging, People were already here. Everything was highly competitive. So the billionaires that have lost out, like Warren Buffett, that are sitting on cash, people said to him, oh, Warren, are you not buying stuff in Dubai? And he's saying, no, I'm waiting for the right time.
Yeah.
That time is now. Whew, Warren Buffett.
Okay, I'll give you more reassurance. I spoke about safety.
Yeah.
I spoke about resilience. And resilience, further.
I've gotten myself some Mpho shares.
Of
Sorry,
course,
I'm not
100%. Yeah.
Did you
100.
buy the dip?
I will tell you something.
Whew, that's a good one.
Much respect to Mr. Muhammad Alabar. Man, he inspires me.
Oh,
I watch
we
him.
want to get him on the podcast. That's our dream, like literally.
No, when he's here, please call me. I want to say hi to him. I want to say hi to him. Man, when he talks, the composure. Man, the confidence comes from belief, not from a power. And you know what they did recently? They released the dividends.
I saw that.
You saw that?
I
That's crazy.
Like, you're releasing
That's
dividends
crazy.
when everybody's saying, no, keep the money.
And now, coming back to what we were saying, we've spoken about preparedness. We've taken examples of the resilience that the UAE has shown over the past so many instances which happened. Now let's talk about two more things. Number one, infrastructure. when the war gets over. And again, if you think it doesn't get over, get a bunker in New Zealand. But if it's getting over, then don't you think this infrastructure is still here, right? What is happening?
Best airport in the world.
Is it Chernobyl? No, we have no other problem. It will stop and it's still back on track. I wish we could have this on a pavement, have this podcast on Sheikh Zayed Road today. Today, Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. Just have it on a pavement. You will see the cars passing by, the traffic everywhere. It's bad. It wasn't off balance or off track ever. The past 3 weeks, yes, for safety concerns, there was work from home, so streets felt empty or lighter on the traffic. Of course, the tourists are not coming. If I'd be a tourist sitting in India, of course I won't travel right now. But life goes on. And number two, this is powerful. You have to understand, Dubai has more than 100 hedge funds.
Ooh, I saw that.
3 hedge funds owned by Abu Dhabi and Dubai are $1 trillion plus. That's a number.
That is the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
And then which ones are...
Mubadala.
Okay.
We call it Mubadala, right? Can you check?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Dubai's own.
Dubai, is it Dubai? What's it called?
I always forget.
Okay,
I'm
no
very
worries.
bad with names.
No,
I
they'll
always
check us
tell.
on Google.
Yeah. So now what happens is, UAE in its Dubai in itself has 210% of its GDP value as reserves. Even I said in my video, that money, I try to be conservative on the video. That money is for 20 years, 30 years to pay the bills. And let me circle back to the fact that that money is today. All the buildings are here. Palm Jumeirah is here. Burj Al Arab is here. Burj Khalifa is here. Everything's here today and we have so much money. And remind you, Dubai came from nothing. They took a loan for Port Jebel Ali.
Yes, even for the
So
Burj.
if we can come from there to here with this kind of leadership, why would I doubt the future? Why would I doubt it? Now everything's here. The money is also there. The backup money is there. So why will I doubt it? You tell me. These are the facts that these are the facts that I present to my clients. And I am sorry, I speak very passionately. And some of you guys will say, oh, he's getting aggressive. I'm not getting aggressive. I am just saying, for the life of me, the opportunity is there. You're just not seeing it.
I'll tell you why we're aggressive. Because I had this argument or this conversation with somebody just saying, when you come from London or the UK and you come from a place that has worked in the past, you tend to not see the cracks on the wall. But when you come from India and Africa, you see very clearly. You see what is real, you see what is not real.
Yes.
You see the little cracks like, oh, lawlessness could bring down a company.
Yes.
People posting fake stories could bring down something. You see the cracks on the wall to say, we've seen things come up and go down. And then you find a country where everything they do is to cover those cracks.
Yes.
You begin to,
Not cover. Fix those
fix those
cracks.
cracks, yeah. One of the things that shocked me completely is we had an incident in Dubai, and just a few hours later, everything was repaired perfect as though it never happened.
Yes.
And I said, we come from spaces where to fix a road that has a pothole takes longer than what Dubai did to fix something that is, very big in the media.
So I'll tell you, I was in India, April 2024, and I clearly remember I was supposed to travel on the 21st here with my friends for the crypto seminar, crypto thing was happening here, if you check the calendar. I couldn't come because my flight was already there for the 28th. Next week, 7 days later. And I said, you guys go on. And we do a lot of stuff with crypto. I have a lot of people in India that I'm associated with blockchain technology and crypto. I do that as well. So we can have more synergy on that.
We must, yeah.
We also did projects on metaverse and everything. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
We're going to
yeah.
have those conversations.
Yeah. So then I think after a year, it was only 8 months. I was having a chat with my friend and, one of those irritating buddies that you have. He's always trying to act smart, and he's like, oh, he's probably jealous of you. He's like, oh, the Dubai boys here, how's your boat? Are you sailing in the water? Trying to pull my leg. And he's like, oh, big boy is here. He made a lot of money in Dubai. I think he hates me. But anyways, typical hater personality. So I told him, the road outside my house, not your house, my house has not been fixed for, let's say, 3 years. I keep seeing that pothole as you gave the example. But you know what I saw in Dubai? Very subtly. No articles, no propaganda, no minister getting on a podium on a mic and saying, hey, we did this for you. Nothing. Every hotspot was analyzed. Data was run through AI models. Satellite images were researched. Hot zones, every little nook and corner of the street where they knew flooding will happen. See, it's a desert.
Yeah.
So the rain drains get filled with sand. You can't solve that problem, but you know what they solved? Everywhere you go, especially in downtown area, you don't see it. There are large pumps sitting on the roads. If you go to some of the areas, they're still open next to the highway. You'll see they're still open.
I saw that.
But they've nicely covered it in downtown. That's preparedness. That's the preparedness. And what they did, I know that I was near this metro station the other day, Business Bay. And that is a hot zone because the way the road is made. So the pumps were doubled up. There were trucks parked there 2 nights before we saw the announcement on the news that there will be stormy weather. And then you've seen how many videos of Business Bay saying, hey, it was flooded 10 minutes ago and now it's not. But I have seen videos of both in India and Africa as brothers, some of the most prominent streets, some of the most prime real estate in Delhi, in the capital today, worth millions of dollars worth of house, they still get flooded. And they're getting flooded every rain. So I am saying comparison, brain, preparedness, a leadership. Take the example of the World Trade Center. Isn't that a government who's solving your problems? When was the last time I saw, a government stepping up and saying, oh, I'll solve your problem? But in Dubai, you've seen the World Trade Center and the third flyover, they opened it middle of the war in March. The work did not stop. They opened it. They also opened the business, the 2 flyovers connecting the other side on Al Khail Road and this side to Business Bay, Al Lasail Street, in the middle of the war in Jeddah. The work is going on. The construction for the developers are happening. I'm a real estate guy. Let me just push that in quickly. All project construction is still happening. What are you waiting for?
Sure. I mean, my mind is, we've covered a lot. We've covered so much. And I think my mind is just at that place where we've given the viewers so much to go and digest.
Yeah.
Firstly, I want to ask the viewers to say, we need to get him back. We need to get him back. So let us know in the comment section that you want him back. That's the first thing. But the second thing I want to ask is that, I sort of sense a sense of, I have been wanting to share this knowledge for a very long time. And I think you've been wanting to share this knowledge for a very long time. I think we need to do a series where we go into history and we study development and what works for development. Because the people that will appreciate this are the governors and the mayors in India and the governors and the mayors in Africa. Because then they will see the patterns and see the truth. Because one of the things that I love about Dubai is that there's so much action, but they're not talking.
Yes.
And I keep saying to myself, one of the things that we endeavor to do here was to make sure that we're having the conversations, building up the city, because we invite real estate people, we invite entrepreneurs to say, have the conversations, let the world know, let's not wait for CNN. And what you've done today is you've literally opened up the minds of the people to see. My mind can't see, I'm not seeing a war. I'm seeing positioning 10 years from now, I'm seeing, okay, how do we sort of get to that position? But I want to sort of leave it on this point to say, let's now talk about the future. To say, somebody's seated out there and somebody's saying, look, what you've said is accurate. We can't argue with it. They want to work with you. They're a private family office. They're a billionaire. They're somebody who's very wealthy. How do they go about that? And what is it that you can let them know, because you hosted a webinar for your private wealthy clients.
Yes.
Let them know how to navigate and make or position themselves correctly for this, what is happening.
I think the easiest way to reach out to me is my number's on my Instagram profile, so you can always WhatsApp me directly. But besides that, my email's also there, so it's very easy to connect. And I will try to the best of my knowledge and my capabilities to guide you and, sort of help you make more money out of the current money that you have. And I think I'll just leave it to that right now.
I love that. And can we commit? We're going to do a second episode because there's so much I haven't done. I haven't told you about the foundation. So you have to come back.
Yes, 100%. We should do it again.
I think we looking at your schedule, we can look at, bringing people information, but you have to come back, because if I have to say the one thing I appreciate about your knowledge is that it's got depth.
Thank you.
Your whatever happened to you to love knowledge, your knowledge has so much depth and context. It's rich. And I think the viewers will appreciate that, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much for joining us today.
You're most welcome. Thank you.